Radio, brought to you by Pertnear Outdoors, your source for all things deer hunting and the rut here in New York State, right in your backyard, so you can get up in the stand and pound them all season long.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pertnear Outdoors podcast. This is Billy, and this is going to be Breedinum Radio, Week 5 of the 2021 deer season. I am going to be joined tonight by Brian and Dallas Kirsch, as well as Dallas's middle daughter, Emma, who is his deer hunting buddy, period. So we had a fun chat and covered Dallas's buck that he shot 2 weeks ago, Brian's buck that he shot last Friday, briefly touch on Brian's muley and the story there, as we really haven't discussed that fully on here. And then we have our good friend Jim Vogel from Dansville. He called in and shared his story of the buck that he shot Monday night on a piece of property he has down there in the Dansville, South Dansville, southern Livingston County area. I'm not sure exactly where, nor should I tell you, but had a fun story from Jim. And Jim's one of those guys that has now kind of entered into my hunting group life, and really enjoy spending time with Jim. He's a great guy and just incredibly fun to be around. So it's just the beauty of this life of hunting, of doing the podcast. You just get to meet a lot of great people like Jim, and Jim is somebody who Dallas worked with, who I met through him coming on our Pennsylvania trip with us. So it's good stuff. So I hope you enjoy all three of those stories. At the end, we chat a little bit about strategy here for this upcoming weekend from three guys who have their tags filled. If they didn't, what they would be doing. I definitely am excited about this weekend myself. I'm recording this Thursday night. Tomorrow morning, I have the day off tomorrow, so I will be heading to one of my favorite hunting spots that has been untouched by me. It's public. Don't know who's been there, what's been going on, but I did a quick power scout on Monday afternoon. I just ripped up through there, did a quick loop through the property, a couple mile hike, and just to kind of get a lay of where the sign was, what was going on, and everything looked pretty consistent as to where it normally is. So excited to get in the woods tomorrow morning, get the wife and the kids off to work and daycare, and then I'm going to jump in the truck and drive an hour and a half to this piece and climb a mile up the hill, and hopefully set my saddle up on a travel corridor and get some action. Had some today and yesterday, so today being the 4th and yesterday being the 3rd. I drive a lot for work all across the Finger Lakes, and definitely not like crazy deer activity, but yesterday on the 3rd, I saw a really, really nice buck over in the Seneca Falls area, just wandering out in the middle of a field into the wind at about 11:50, and then later was that today? Yeah, it was today. I was driving down near Nunday area, and had a little buck come running out of the goldenrod and up to the edge of the road, and then turn around and go running back. And so he was kind of running crazy, and we had some buck activity on the farm here today. Robert was watching one of our target bucks out in the middle of a field with a doe. She was bedded right in the middle of an alfalfa field, and the buck was kind of just standing with her. So I'm not sure exactly, he wasn't breeding her. I would say he was just standing with her, waiting. He is definitely the biggest buck in the block, no doubt about it. And so he's probably got the first girl on the that's on the menu. If it comes up, he's ready for her. And Bob said he was fending off several 2.5 and yearling bucks that were circling around out in the field and trying to get position so that they could be close to her, and had quite the show. So kind of thinking about that and thinking about what he saw today, certainly seems like maybe the first few does are starting to come in or getting close, and some of these big bucks certainly know that. So tomorrow I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get to a spot where I think there should be some, normal travel, but I'm going to probably take it easy getting in there when in the areas where I know there's typically does bedded and feeding, and hopefully I can kind of get in near some does and set up a little bit and have a good midday hunt, and then hunt right in through the evening. Kind of play it by ear whether I move to an evening spot or not. Just going to play it by ear. Hopefully I don't have to worry about that. And I've got a buck with an arrow in him and tipped over on his side by about noon is my goal. So we will see how that goes, and I will report back next week or on social. So track along there. But let's see. I guess last things I want to say before we get started here is, that episode we did last week on Thursday or Wednesday, I think I posted it, a little bonus episode with Rick Milne, Uncle Rick to us. One of our good friends. He was successful on Tuesday with being elected to represent his district in Monroe County as the legislator, the 5th district, I believe it was. So congrats to Uncle Rick, and hopefully everyone went out there and exercised their right to vote on Tuesday, so last Tuesday, and it was definitely very encouraging to see how many people voted. It seemed like the numbers were pretty good. I don't pay that much attention. I'm paying more attention now than ever, but definitely seemed like people got out there and got engaged. So that's awesome. Great job, everybody. And that's what we're doing. We're Americans. That's our right, and we should be doing that and not sitting at home and bitching about stuff. Get out there, get engaged, and voice your opinion through your vote or just by showing up and doing stuff. Speaking of that, the late season holiday hunt opt-in period is that opt-in period public hearing piece is till the 14th. I did see a post from the Holland, I don't know, the Snow Rascals or Holland, whatever the hell their snowmobile association is here. They put a post up that they had a meeting with all the chapters in Erie County. I don't know if I think there was 10 different snowmobile chapters in the county. 7 of those, in the note there on Instagram, it said 7 of the 10 groups were against the holiday hunt, and they wanted to voice their opinions and see if they could opt out in Erie County, and their legislator told them that there was no way that they could do that. So I messaged them on Instagram and told them that I didn't think that was right, that they should be able to write into wildlife regs at dec.newyork.gov and be able to voice their opinion. Even though obviously I want the hunt, I think it's important that everybody has the opportunity to voice their opinion. So we'll encourage you all to send those emails, let the DEC know what you think, reach out to your local representatives to champion it if you want them to, and go from there. So that's that on my public service side of things. Hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Get out there, even if it's only for a few hours. Get out there, get in the woods. It's going to be a great weekend. So good luck to everybody. Have a great one, and keep fading them. Okay, it's working.
I need my poppy back.
Get your poppy back.
It's called a pop. It's scientific facts right there.
Scientifical.
Yeah, I said scientifical.
We're learning. We're getting edumacated tonight, Dallas.
Duh.
What's Jen doing? Or is Jen at home and you just got blessed with having the Deer Slayer herself with you for tonight's podcast? All right.
Deer Tracker.
Deer Tracker.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Definitely not Deer Dragger, though.
No.
Hey, I tried and I dragged it a foot in
I don't think
a half an hour.
I think that's generous.
Yeah. Hey, pop it, girl. That's bad for radio. You need to focus. We're gonna focus on you being part of the story to start off tonight's show. So I think Brian's coming. I don't know if he's showing up or not. I would assume he's.
I didn't hear from him.
I didn't either. We're all living that life. So
I didn't hear from me either. I mean, there's no way I could. But.
All right. So welcome to this week's episode of Breedinum Radio. We've got the Kirsch family on here. We got Emma Kirsch and we got Dallas Kirsch.
I'm a special guest. Thank you very much.
You are a special guest. You're like Gronk. You're special.
Yeah.
Just like that commercial. That's one of our favorite commercials in the Harvey house right now. Bill Dan laughs at it every time. Like he understands the humor.
Yeah.
He thinks he's special. So tonight's show, we're going to kind of update where things are at with the season, how the rut's going. We're going to hear from Dallas and hear the story about his buck he shot a couple weeks ago, 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah, the 22nd.
22nd. So I think we'll jump right into that story since Emma's here and she was part of the recovery of that deer, and maybe we can get her feelings on that as we get to that point in the story. But I first want to give a shout out to our title sponsor of this show, which is the Huntworks. And they are just some hard-working son of a guns over there, making sure that everybody's got a nice tree stand to sit in and be safe and effective this hunting season. So if you need, Emma, if you need a double ladder stand for you and your dad to hunt out of,
I already have one. I got one for my birthday.
Did you get it from the Huntworks? Probably not.
We got it from Wally Works.
So in a roundabout way, they maybe sort of kind of came. It didn't. But Dallas next time is going to buy a double ladder stand from the Huntworks at thehuntworks.com. And Slick Willie's going to get about 75 cents profit, which will help pay for 1/98 of my expense each month from doing this. That's math, Emma. So
I'm in 4th grade. I'm not dumb.
you're not dumb. Okay, excuse me. Trigger, hop on the mic. Welcome to the show. How's life? It's all right?
Hectic.
Coming from you. I would say that we all probably feel the same way, though. I think you're reading that spot on.
Thank you.
What's up, buddy?
Not much.
What do you think of the studio here?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's nice.
You haven't been down here since it's probably been a while since you've been down. Put this table in. This is that old barn door from the farm. And then these are fence posts I dug out of the ditch.
This is a door?
Yeah. That was a door for something at the farm.
This is where all the bugs were?
No, that was in that huge beam that I grabbed back when I built that bar in the back room when I first moved in here, and we brought that beam and I took it like right inside in the middle of the winter. And then come springtime and like everything started thawing out. And I had all sorts of bugs inside of my house. So that was wonderful.
Nice.
That's great for you.
It is great. So that's a learning lesson. Anybody out there that wants to put, a nice old beam from a barn, don't go out in the field in the middle of the winter and get it and then bring it immediately in your house and think that there's not going to be stuff that's going to be creepy crawling around.
I mean, I really don't think anyone would do that besides you.
She's not wrong. Yeah, what you Kirsches, you guys are all you're all on the same page here. It's beautiful. So Trigger's officially here. Jim Bobby. I'm assuming that's Jimbo.
Yeah.
Or is that Jim?
Oh, he's on.
That's Jim.
So he can call.
So that must be Jim Bobby.
Yep.
Hang with us, Jim Bobby. We're gonna get Uncle Dallas's big buck story, and then we'll probably talk Brian and his big bucks that he's gotten so far, and then we want to get Mr. Honey Brown himself on here to talk about.
Yep. You just have yourself a few honey.
Yeah, you just sit back,
prepping.
Jim, and relax, and we'll get to you in just a moment. So, you boys are sitting here, fat and happy, not stressing out at all on November 3rd, because you guys have both punched your buck tags. So, congratulations.
Yeah, Billy.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm doing podcasts in my basement. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
At least it's not your parents' basement.
right. I mean, I'm one step above that, right?
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So let's dive right in. I want to know. I didn't really hear. I guess I heard Brian's story, but I didn't really hear your story too much, Dallas. You kind of gave me the high level story about this, but if you want to kind of give the high level breakdown of the hunt, where you were sitting, what your approach was, were you hunting sign? So this was 2 weeks ago, basically. So it was kind of before a lot of the seeking started, right? They were making a lot of sign and.
Yeah, it was right towards the beginning of the sign making. So, so it was the 22nd, the Friday, when I shot the buck, and I would say that past week there is when you started seeing more scrapes and more buck sign popping up. So, as we probably talked about, we didn't have anything really that we were targeting at the farm at this point. So I pretty much just focused all my efforts on another property that I hunt, and I've been hunting there for a few years, and I've had pretty good success the last couple. So I figured I'd have something to go after there. In September, I picked up a number of 3-year-old bucks that were all probably, there's a couple that I was definitely going to shoot, and a couple that were probably borderline. But in particular, I was after an 8-pointer that was probably like mid to upper 130s, and I had him on camera a couple of times, and I had him opening weekend, I guess starting there, I went up Friday afternoon, the 1st, and hunted and had a buck sighting with, I didn't get a good look at him, but I think it was one of the other 3-year-olds. It was probably the second best buck on the property that I would have shot. And so it was Friday night, the 1st. So the way he moved the way I thought he was gonna, he was just 50 yards out in front of me. So the next day I came in and just moved my stand, my lone wolf, 30 yards or so to be where that deer went through. And instead of coming through there, I saw a different deer, which was the 8-pointer that I was after. I saw him out of that stand, but he went, instead of moving west to east, he moved north to south. So that was opening weekend, which is that's more sightings, more close encounters than I've ever had in the real early season like that, hunting certainly on the farm. I mean, seeing them out in a food plot at dark is one thing, but having them within 50 or 100 yards 2 nights in a row, 2 different shooters, I was feeling pretty good about myself. So I think I hunted 2 more afternoons between then and when I killed the deer. So when I went in on the 22nd, I got in there pretty early, maybe around 3:30 or so, carrying my stand and sticks. And I checked a couple of trail cameras on the way in with my card reader on my phone. And the camera where I had those 2 encounters, I pulled, and that morning, 9:30 on Friday morning, broad daylight, I had what I thought was that big 8-pointer walk right in front of my camera, but heading the wrong way. I'm at the east end of the property, and he's heading to the east out of the property. So like I said, I just at a glance on my phone, I thought it was that big 8. So my plan already was to scout up more towards the west of the property, and I was just going to look for sign and find a good place to hang. And I got about maybe 150 yards into it, and I just came on a couple of fresh scrapes, and I just walked over to look at one of them, and a buck took off running away from me he took off running in the direction where I was going. So I thought I kicked him out of his bed, but I went over there and I looked around and I couldn't find any sign of a bed there. So I think I just caught him cruising towards me. I didn't get a good look at him, but as far as, the rack, but he looked like a good-sized deer. So I didn't know exactly what was going on at that point, but I figured a good sign. So I just kept moving along, and I figured with the way the wind was and then the way the wind was going to be in the morning, I could set up a spot where I could hunt. I hadn't planned on hunting a lot that weekend, but with what I had just seen, I figured now's the time. So I knew of a scrape line I wanted to check out, and I figured if it's open, that'd be a good place to sit tonight and in the morning. So I popped down into this area, saw that the scrape line was open, hung a stand, and it was almost 5 o'clock when I got up there. I mean, it was almost to the point where I was thinking about not hunting that night because it was getting kind of late. I figured maybe I'll just set up a stand for the morning or, just figure it out as I go. Like I said, I seen the fresh sign there. I popped up in a tree, and within 10 minutes, I see a buck come cruising off the neighbors out of the field. So it's 5 o'clock. And, I mean, he comes right, not the exact route that I thought the deer was going to take because there's kind of an edge there that I thought they would follow, but he ends up coming right, he gets about 50 yards from the scrape, upwind of it, turns and starts heading right towards it, and I'm sitting 12 yards over top of this scrape. I'm up 18 feet. I'm on the front side of the tree in my tree stand, but I got a good background. My sticks are around the back. The wind is perfect going behind me. It was very calm, but I never felt any sort of swirling or anything like that. But that deer got to 30 yards, was heading right for the scrape. He was looking right at the scrape, and he stopped and turned and looked at my tree and just locked onto it. At the time, I thought maybe he saw my sticks off the side, but later when Brian came with me, we looked, and the sticks were around the back of the tree the way they should have been. I mean, everything was set up pretty good. I don't know if he could have saw the straps from the sticks. They're the gray hawk helium straps. Yeah. I mean, they blend in. It was a maple tree. They blend right in.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that deer saw, but, man, he stopped, and he just locked on that tree. He never really looked up, and there was a maple tree in between us with a limb with leaves on it. So from his head to me, looking up, I don't think he could have seen me, and I was ready for him. I wasn't moving or anything, but anyway, when I seen the deer coming, I seen the big tines and the big frame on him, and I just thought that's the big 8 that I'm hunting right there. Like, hello, target buck, here we go, you know. So I never looked any more at that. I just focused on how I was going to get a shot. I knew he wasn't coming to that scrape. There's no way. You could tell by his body language that he just wasn't going to do it. But he wasn't super spooked either. So I realized what he was going to do, which is he was going to slowly turn around and creep back out the same path that he came in. You know, you just see he was starting to make that turn. And I actually had him at broadside at 30 yards, but that limb was in the way. But I realized that when he did turn around to go back where he came from, he was going to give me a quartering away shot. So I waited till he turned his head and started to make the turn, the U-turn, and I drew, and as soon as he opened up the body, I had a hard quartering away shot, so I just kind of tried to put one right in the middle, 30-yard shot. And he bounded off. He didn't mule kick and look like he was double lung hit or anything like that, but I figured he was hit, but I couldn't see where. So he ran back out into that field where he came from. I figured he was far enough where I could get down right away and at least check for blood, see what kind of blood I had. And I'd say he ran about 50 yards before he started bleeding. So I found the blood, and I got a direction on him and backed out. What are you looking at?
You're looking at your dad, the big buck slayer. Sir sweats a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I backed out and called trigger, and I figured with the unknown of what was going on and as far as the direction he was headed over towards the neighbor's property there, I didn't want to attract a big attention. And I didn't want to get a big group together, and I didn't want to have everybody asking me every 10 minutes, how's it going? Did you find him yet? So I called him, went home, had dinner, and we went out about 10 o'clock with Emma and Trigger.
So you found blood where you hit him?
Yeah.
Was there decent blood, or?
It wasn't where I hit him. It was about 50 yards.
Yeah, because it didn't pass through, right?
It didn't pass through. The arrow went and hit the far side and stayed in him. And we eventually found the arrow later at night. But I found a good amount of blood, and once I found that, I pretty much backed out almost right away, and knowing that I wasn't really sure about the shot. So ended up, like I say, the shot was only like 10 after 5. We came back about 10 o'clock, the three of us.
So take us from there. You're tracking. I mean, how far did he go tracking wise? Did he go a long way, or did he bed down, or?
He never bedded. He ran out into a field and along the edge of a field. And when you get in the grass, it was a mowed path, but the grass was still probably 6-8 inches long, and it's hard to see blood in that stuff.
Very hard.
Yeah. And he was bleeding good enough in the hardwoods. I mean, it wasn't like oh God, he's going to be dead here in 100 yards.
Yeah, it was kind of spraying out a little bit.
We couldn't figure out if it was coming out. I thought it was coming out both sides. Brian eventually figured out that it was just spraying, but probably out one side by seeing the tracks. It wasn't coming out of his nose because he wasn't lung hit. It was just coming out of the broadhead hole. So,
I think every time he landed or jumped, it just kind of
shot out.
Just shot out a little bit.
And we were finding large kind of pools of blood, almost like they do when they stop, but it never appeared that he really stopped.
He did when the arrow fell out.
Okay.
Do you think he was pulling it out, the arrow, or you think it's hard to tell? The broadhead was still on the arrow, or?
Yeah, it was fine.
Wow.
But he probably went 100 yards before.
I mean, that had to have done a lot of damage in him.
I think that's what killed him.
Yeah.
It got up and when we did the autopsy, his lung had one little nick in it, and his heart was clean, so it must have caught either the arteries in there or whatever it was, and then it got in there and just did damage while it was in there. And
you're shooting a fixed blade, or?
I'm expandable.
Expandable?
Yeah, Rage 2-blade.
Nice.
So when he ended up getting the arrow out, and then
I think he was just kind of moving a lot slower.
He had slowed down, and Brian was getting nervous because we actually lost blood for about 20 minutes there because when he left the field, we didn't pick up the right trail. So we had to get back into the hardwoods. Fortunately, we went back into the hardwoods where it's easy to track with all the fresh leaves on the ground. So we ended up kind of doing a grid search in there, and I eventually found blood. I'd say we lost it for about 15 or 20 minutes. But when we found it, we had good blood again. And it was right after that we found the arrow. And Brian said, you know, for what it's worth, he goes, usually when I find an arrow, I either find the dead deer or at least a bed soon after that arrow pops out for whatever reason, you know, coincidence or not. But I've seen it too where, you know, he shoots a lot more deer with the arrows than I do, so I've helped him on a lot of trails. But I can remember several times where I'm like, hey, I found the arrow, and then next thing you know, 60 yards, there's the buck laying there.
Right.
But this son of a bitch, he decides to find the biggest ravine in the neighborhood and go down, follow deer trail down it to the bottom, and then climb straight up the other side until he gets about 3/4 of the way up. But that was all she wrote.
Yeah,
he found him up towards the top of that ridge. Ravine.
I mean, I think he went 500-600 yards.
No, it wasn't that far. I would say it's no more than 3.
Dragging him back was fun.
Yeah.
Well, that was longer.
How much dragging did you do? I think you said 1 foot, I think was what you said before we hit record.
Yeah, and it took me like 30 minutes. And it was cold.
That's all you remember. Did you work up a sweat when you were dragging?
No, because I didn't drag anything. I just like looking at
The tracking, though, how are you feeling when we were tracking?
I like
Yeah, what was that experience like for you? Middle of the night?
No, like we were out there for so long, and I didn't think we were going to find the deer. And I just wanted to go home. But then on the other hand, I just wanted pictures with him, not that he was mine.
Well, he's kind of yours. I mean, it's as close as you can get to it being yours. You're very close. You're like a couple years away.
So, Emma was definitely not there for positive reinforcement with questions like, when are we going to find him? And
how much longer?
How much longer?
I'm tired.
My face is numb. My face and my hands are numb because we weren't moving.
Well, it
very
was
fast.
like after midnight by the time you guys.
Well, I actually stuck out there. I didn't make you go home, which would have happened.
That's
find him.
It's impressive.
It was around 11, I think, when we found him. It didn't take too long.
It took an hour
But
to find him.
It was pretty cold, though. I'd say it was in the low 40s, upper 30s.
And there was a lot of big rocks. And I got confused.
A little tripping action going on. Yeah.
So anyways, upon finding him, it right away when I spotted him, I said, that's a 9-pointer, you know. So I've been hunting this 8, and then had thought that I shot the 8. I mean, I called Brian and told him that, and I told Jen and Emma that same thing. I'm like, yeah, I shot that big 8-pointer that I'm after. And it turns out to be obviously not the same deer because he was a 9. And it wasn't until 3 or 4 days later that I actually went and threw all the cards on my computer, and that video that I had found from Friday morning, on my way in, the video that I had seen was this buck. It was the 9-pointer. So that deer at 9:30 in the morning was 300 yards from where I shot him, going the opposite direction. Some point he made a big loop around at 5 o'clock. He was chooching right through. So that deer was out all day and all night just making scrapes. I mean, his tarsal glands.
He was just working.
Oh, my God. He was making scrapes all day long is what I'm thinking happened. He was just running circles up there. And I don't even know where he came from because I've talked to at least 3 different guys that hunt in that area, and nobody has pictures of that deer.
That's wild.
So we don't know how
It
far
just goes
away.
to show. It's like you just never know what's going to show up.
Yeah, and especially, if you hit the right day. I mean, my criteria to hunt is having time or making time, but my main thing is wind direction. That's when I'm deciding where and when to hunt is the wind direction. So it just happened to be a Friday afternoon where I could, get up early because I work third shift, and that's how I kill a lot of deer too. Is I get up out of bed at 2 o'clock and go, and I could still be home for dinner.
Right.
This was the same thing. Getting out of bed at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, using the wind direction, scouting, hanging a stand. I mean, it all came together the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't normally, but all the scenarios really played out. And I just happened to pick a great day because Brian's seen the same kind of action. And then I went.
It was cool. It was cooler and sunny that day, wasn't it?
It was fairly sunny, yeah.
So it was like maybe a high pressure day. And I think it was a cold, like kind of a cold snap we had there that last couple days of the week there.
Yeah, it had been hot and it cooled down. But I went and, again, when I pulled all my cameras, I had like 7 cameras out there that I went through the following week. The 22nd was on fire, but also the 19th before it cooled down. The Tuesday I just had bucks all day and all night on all of my cameras. There was 2 really good days right there.
That's one thing that I'd like to do a better job of is go back and look at these camera pictures and see, like, okay, these were the days, and like, why were they the days? Yeah. Was it weather? Was it this many days before the moon? Because the full moon was what, like the 25th, 26th? It was beginning of that following week.
It was the 18th. It was the night of the Bills-Titans game because I hunted.
Yeah, that's right. It was brighter than hell.
I hunted that afternoon, and I got out super late because I had deer around me, and then I had to take down my whole set, and then I was kind of deep back in the property, and I was walking out with my headlamp on, and I saw a beam of light that almost looked like another headlamp going across mine. So I turned my headlamp off, and it was the moon, and there was a logging road there, and the moon happened to be aligned with the road, and it lit it up like
it looked
like almost the street lights on
yeah.
that logging road. It was so bright. So that had to be the full moon, the 18th.
Yep.
But
I think you're right.
Know, I don't really pay too much attention to the moon, but it definitely, we had a long warm streak there, and then it cooled down at the end of the week. I think maybe Thursday was the first cool day. But again, I was just trying to get out whenever I could, and I think we had a west-northwest wind that afternoon, which was good for me to come in from the direction that I did. So I don't know, it all played out. The only hard part was the drag out of there. I mean, I've said pretty much I'll never drag another deer.
That would have been a good one to pack out.
Yeah, but we had to go into a different property, and we didn't want to leave a big mess behind or anything like that. So we ended up dragging them. Took us about an hour, the 2 of us.
Yeah,
with 40 yards at a time.
That was on a good sprint. When we got on flat ground, but we went through several swampy little bogs, 2 creeks, one of which had a steep bank on the other side that we had a hell of a time getting them up.
Oh yeah, that was great. Yeah. It was honestly hard walking up it.
Yeah, I don't ever want to drag a deer again. No. Especially with my hands. Like, I've dragged him with my backpack, and that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But that's downhill. I wouldn't want to be dragging up and down over logs.
No, it was like up and then up and then up and then up, and then you just never went down.
So what kind of things were you saying to us while we were dragging that deer?
Hurry up, go faster. You don't have time for breaks. We need to get back there. Let's go. Come on.
How about the smell?
Oh, yeah. No, that just...
That was the smelliest non-gut shot deer that I've ever smelled. Just
really?
His tarsal glands.
Oh, they were that?
We didn't even open them up either.
He was super fat.
The drag, we didn't even gut him. We just dragged him like that. And his back legs stunk so bad that she was following us. She was basically walking between the deer's legs and saying, "Oh, he stinks. He smells so bad."
Yeah, and I do remember there was like the log that you had to drag him over. And then you're like, because you did other logs, and they were like, yeah, this log will be fine. And so you go, and then it just gets stuck, and you're like, and then you're stuck there pulling, and it finally gets there.
So the wound channel from that rage opened up a pretty good hole, and we got almost done, and we had to go over this stick that was kind of the long ways we went over them. And the end of it got stuck in the wound, and we had to back him up, pull him back, and we actually broke the end of the dead log off. And then we pulled out a big chunk out of it and threw it, and then when I skunned the deer, another piece, like a 4-inch piece, fell out of it when I skunned the deer. So it was actually got stuck right in there so bad that we had to pull the deer in reverse to get it out.
Where was, like, the one place where, like, the big branch, and then it just tipped? I can't remember where that was.
Oh, it fell on my head.
Yeah, and you're just like, I'm good, let's keep going.
I think his back legs must have clipped a dead maple tree that was still standing, and it fell over and cracked me right across the head and then broke again, so that was fun.
Oh, that's terrific.
And then you're just like, I'm good, let's go.
I might have pushed it out of the way to get through.
Yeah, Brian encouraged it to start tipping.
Well, when you're dragging too wide and there's only 2 foot to drag.
Right. You're just going to bowl over stuff. Yeah. So, real quick, kind of closing out that story, your best buck ever, inches-wise.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, with a bow, and you haven't really killed that many big bucks with your bow, right? I mean, you haven't even really done that much archery hunting since I've known you.
Yeah,
the last couple of years.
Last year I hunted a lot and didn't have any luck till I had one really good encounter the last week of the season, but last year was a little frustrating. I hunted pretty hard.
Yeah.
I'm back and forth on bow hunting. Part of it just depends on the chaos in my life at that time.
Well, it's just kids.
You know,
I mean,
I like to save my time for when I prefer to hunt, which is gun hunting and group hunting and muzzleloader and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I'll
push my time back when it seems right. But the reason I went after it this year, I was not prepared to hunt, but it was just data.
You couldn't not hunt. It was what you were seeing.
It was my cameras, and then I wanted to go in on opening day because I wanted to check a bunch of cameras. So it's like, if I'm going to go in there and check, like 5 cameras that day, it's like, why not take a tree stand and hunt, right? So I had, when I got up in the stand that first day and pulled the card from right in front of me, that's when I seen that I had those 2 shooter bucks on there, and the one was 5 o'clock on Thursday, so it was less than 24 hours before that one came through. And then seeing those deer, so it's like everything is just screaming at me, get out there and hunt this spot. You're stupid to, there's no reason to save it for later when the time is now. Yeah. It's obvious that the time is now. So, when you got stuff like that going on, just hunt. Yeah. That's all that came down to. It was easy.
I think that's
easy decision. That is.
We're right. It's almost always what it seems to come down to. And you two year after year, you guys knock down a good quantity of deer. You knock down good deer, and it seems like a lot of times that's all it is with your approach to stuff. Is it's like, if you have the time, if you have the ability, if the conditions are lining up, just get out there, and things seem to happen. And I think that almost kind of ties into how your buck story went, Brian. Like, it wasn't ideal. It was kind of a cluster of a morning, but you knew you had to be out there.
Right. And that's like Dale's, if he thinks he's got something good going on, he hunts. But, like, I get to hunt Friday night if I'm lucky.
Right.
I get to hunt Saturday and Sunday, so I don't care what the moon's like. I don't care what the temperature, the weather, you know what I mean? Like, I do. I look at it.
You do, but there's nothing you can do about it.
No, it's Saturday, and
right,
you have to hunt. So.
Yeah. And that's how 95% of people are. They have weekends or, vacations, whenever they can hunt. And then if you're dealing with kids on top of that, your options are limited. But you've always been kind of a go whenever you have the time and make it work kind of guy. I've had just so much more success in the past 10 years or so when I've, even with everything I've had going on at home with the family and whatnot, just working these odd shift jobs. For 10 years I've been on night shift, and you could, a lot of people want to say, like, I don't know how you do that schedule and everything like that, but it's one of the main payoffs is, 9 months of the year I'm able to do the whole year, but I'm able to do anything I need to as far as family wise. I get the kids on the bus every day. I make them dinner every night. I get to go to their sporting events, their concerts at school, all that kind of stuff. But then when it comes to deer season, it's like, hey, today's the day that I need to get up early in the afternoon on 3 or 4 hours of sleep and get my butt in a tree stand because today is the day, right? Like, the weather's right, the wind's right. I mean, I basically just, wind is my number one factor, wind direction.
Yep.
So when I look at that forecast every day, and I look, and I can see usually on Monday that, well, hey, Thursday afternoon's the day, so I need to clear my schedule, get my shit together, and hunt on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I do that, I end up killing something.
Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to. I think everybody, I know Dallas, you and I, Brian doesn't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I listen to a lot of podcasts driving around. You listen to a lot of stuff when you work, and so many guys are just, it's not relatable. Like, not everybody can take a whole week of work off. Not everybody can pick and choose when they want to go hunt. So it's like, I think it's so important for people just to figure out is it gun hunting that's your thing? Do you find great success during the late season of gun like you have? Like, that's your thing. And I find myself, like, I'm kind of kicking myself after this past weekend because over the last few years I've found success hunting a certain way at the end of October, and I kind of like bailed on that this year. Like, I had my weekend last weekend, and I just bailed on it because we were getting a ton of great pictures at camp. We have multiple mature bucks up there on camera. So like, and I haven't really hunted camp in several years. So I'm like, I kind of want to go to camp, and everybody was planning on.
So it's fun.
It's fun. Like we were gonna have a bunch of guys at camp, and then Jimmy ended up. Jay was sick, and so he ended up not being there. So like the whole weekend like changed. It kind of like spun out on me, but I bailed on what I've had success on the last couple of years, and that frustrated me because that weekend is the weekend I look forward to every year, with Halloween. And granted, the weather wasn't terrific, but still, I was, I bailed on what I was comfortable with, and I think that's what people need to.
Just because of hunting at camp as opposed to doing the public land
going
stuff you've been
going
doing.
to the public where I've been scouting. Like I was talking to Jimmy today, and he's like, Jimmy said to me, he goes, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to." They've been riding me pretty hard about being a public land hunter and like not hunting at camp and coming to camp, but yet I got to leave every morning to go hunt but I've spent, a lot of time scouting that public land, shed hunting, hiking, looking at stuff, and I've had great success over the last 3 years at that piece of property. So like I totally bail on it and go and hunt camp where I've only hunted 3 or 4 sits over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and I was just kind of like a fish out of water. I'm like trying to make things happen based off of stuff that I did 4 years ago. You know what I mean? So history doesn't always repeat itself, I guess is what it comes back to. But if you have a time and a method that works for you.
Well, certainly knowing your strengths and weaknesses is a big thing. That's what I've been talking about too.
Yeah.
But like I said, I had every reason to just push it a little more with the bow hunting this year, and I'm glad it paid off. It's nice to get one that way. Yeah.
So into your story, Trigger, with your buck. So you were off that.
Right.
You were off that whole week, right?
Yeah, I was off Tuesday at like lunchtime to through the rest of the week.
Yeah, and you ran into some pretty good action. That was the week of before Halloween. So that was the same week I was. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, my hunt wasn't all that like.
Yeah,
just kind of quick and.
But the week was pretty eventful. Yeah. You ran into a lot of pretty intense activity.
Yeah, Friday when Dallas killed the buck, I saw it was a definite shooter. I don't really know what it was.
Was that in Pavilion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was about 45 yards. There was no way I could even range him or get a shot, but it was a nice buck and he was right there for a while. But and then during the week hunting with Tard, we just had awesome action.
Yeah.
We probably called in 12 bucks at least.
Rattling and grunting, or
rattling, grunting, bleating, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
Tard was going nuts, and those bucks were.
I can only imagine him with the set of rattling horns. Gotta sound like WW.
They scare me.
Yeah.
But the deer were running, and so I don't know.
How close were you guys when you said you saw the biggest buck you ever seen? How close were you guys? Was he calling, or were you calling, or both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're probably 125 yards. We're on like a side hill, and he was probably 80 yards above me, but he was more south than I was. So I was halfway down the hill. He was towards the top, and we were just kind of staggered.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those deer were moving through by themselves, but at some point, most of them got called in to something.
Yeah.
Right away, a 2-year-old buck was just kind of milling around, and I told him to start calling, and it went right to him. He drew it right by me at 20 yards. It was perfect. And then a little buck chased a doe in, so we didn't call that one in. But then their ruckus pulled in 2 big bucks. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
And they came right to me. And unfortunately, I couldn't shoot. But
you did shoot, but you didn't hit anything.
Well, I can't shoot very well, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Trigger. Like I was joking, you're always thinking about your next arrow. That's your problem, or your next bullet. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. But anyways, that little buck was chasing a doe right by me, and Tard was in the middle of a crazy calling sequence, and they didn't care. Like I don't know. I don't know if they were coming in to it to start out with, and then saw that little buck chasing the doe. I'm not even sure what happened.
Kind of made it seem real.
Yeah, so that little buck was coming, and the doe right by me, and then I look up. We really want to shoot a deer. Put it this way.
Yeah.
We had our sabbatical, a little vacation last year, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
It
was
rained.
bad weather,
It was like this last weekend.
Yeah.
The whole time we didn't see anything hardly. So we were gonna shoot a deer, and it was on public land. We were just gonna shoot a deer, and when I seen that it was a little fork horn chasing that doe, I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot her. And she was coming right to me, and then all of a sudden I see a deer running off the hill, and it was just a monster. I don't even know how big his tines were or what he scored, but he was huge.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy crap! He's running right at my tree, and I hear another deer coming, and I look, and it's another big one, and I'm just like, what is going on here?
All in one morning here on public land.
Yeah, first time hunting there.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, I've
hunted the general area, but
general area like twice, I think. I've done some scouting. I walk around there in the winter, and
I mean that's pretty outstanding that to see that caliber of deer in there, to kind of and those aren't young deer, so that they're surviving.
No, the big 8 was like a 3-year-old 8,
mm-hmm.
and then I don't know, the other one just towered over. It was just huge.
Jesus.
So yeah, the little buck chases the doe about 3 yards by me. They get about 20 yards past me. The other 2 bucks are at like 35, 40 yards. They're going to come right down the same trail right to my tree. I'm just like grinning ear to ear, ready, and the doe turned. The little buck chased her right back past both those good bucks, and the huge one followed those 2. The other one just stood there. He didn't know what to do. Text tired. I said, keep calling. He keeps calling. He pulled him right by at 20 yards.
Jeez.
You want to go? Yeah, say goodbye.
You got any closing thoughts for us, Dragmaster?
Thank you.
That don't end on that.
Next
That's
time
embarrassing.
Use a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
No, what I just don't understand is I don't get when I'm with you. You always get bucks when I'm not with you.
Yeah. I don't think that's a coincidence.
He only shoots does when he's with you.
Let me give you some advice. When the doe comes, tell him not to shoot it.
Because you never know what's behind that doe.
You also need to save some deer for me because...
Are you worried about in a few years there's not going to be nothing left for you? Is that what you're concerned about?
No, there's going to be too much.
Too many deer?
No.
You are your mother. You know that?
It's just
It's unbelievable.
You shoot at everything.
Only if they make me.
If he feels threatened, he shoots.
Yeah, I feel threatened all the time in a tree stand.
Yeah.
That's why I sit really high.
So Thursday was, this was Wednesday?
That was Wednesday morning.
Goodbye.
So
thank you for joining us, Emma. We always appreciate your
You're welcome.
Bye, Emma. Are you leaving your dad? You driving home?
Yeah.
walking home.
No, my mom's coming again.
Oh.
See ya.
See you, Emma.
So that was Wednesday.
Yep. So I got the shot at the not the monster, but the nice. He was a good buck.
Just go out there.
20-inch wide, 8-point with good tines.
Yeah.
He was a good buck. I don't know what I did. I just barely clipped him.
Yeah. Just got a little haircut.
Yeah, a little haircut. I had just like blood on like 2 fletchings. It didn't even like completely go through them. So I don't know what I did. If everything felt good, but anyways, yeah. Then like a half hour later, there was another buck. After I got my arrow and realized I didn't get much, I look.
Did you get down?
Oh yeah.
And then you climb right back up.
Yeah.
Oh.
You thought you made a good shot, right?
Yeah, and it looked like I wasn't really sure if it hit the heart or not. It was right there
In the pocket.
Right in the pocket. So when I got down and saw my arrow, there was just a scattered of white hair, and then there wasn't really much on the arrow. I looked around a little bit then, and I spent some time. I couldn't find anything. I went back up in the tree.
I was hearing something the other day, or I was listening to the Deer Hunter podcast today, and Bo, he had Bo on last week, and he was talking about he missed a buck. The big buck he shot.
Yeah, he missed.
On opening day, he missed on the first shot.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't bend at the waist. And I wonder if maybe that's because you're shooting lights out on flat ground.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe you're not bending at the waist and you're because it's all tree stand shots where you're off.
Yeah, I
So
don't know.
maybe that's got something to do with it, you know?
Well,
Oh.
it said shot was only like 14 yards too, so
Yeah,
you
it's
can see
straight
why
down.
you need to do that a little
Right.
bit more.
Well, I guess I got to get in a tree stand and do some practice, and I really don't think there's going to be an issue. But
Yeah. Something's going on.
something's going on, so I missed that buck. That was a little bit of a heartbreaker, but not really because that other buck was huge. I just had to shoot at that buck because it was a good buck. And,
Yeah.
you know,
No doubt shooter.
it was a no-doubt shooter, yeah, especially for public land. But anyways, I get down, I look, I gave it 10 minutes. I got down, grabbed the arrow, followed his track for 40 yards. There was nothing. There wasn't much on the arrow. So I got back in the stand, and it was only like 15 minutes later. I look, there's a buck coming from where that little buck chased the doe, and he's sniffing around. So I texted Tard to do some calling, and he did the same thing. Came right down the same trail, right by it 20 yards again. They're coming right down the trail that was hitting my tree, but at 20 yards they were quartering.
Dude, it makes you wonder how if you do that setup more often,
Mhm.
it's no different than turkey calling or hunting elk or anything. It's like, how often does it benefit you to have the caller
Because
50
they-
yards downwind or whatever? Because that's where they want to go. They want to circle around.
And it's the trigger strategy.
Yeah,
I-
it's
well,
always
and
worked. It's
You
worked
and I
since
haven't
was
done
14.
that together in a long time.
Yeah,
Like
and
we
that's
have
the
not.
only thing that we need to do.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
I need you on doe patrol, and we need to just get in a line.
Doe patrol.
We need to shoot some does.
That'd be a good
I
time.
only got one doe tag, but
Yeah, that's all I got too.
so we can shoot 4 does up. Well, 5 does with Molly, but we probably won't shoot 5 does. But so let's fast forward to Thursday night. You and Tard allegedly had a pretty darn good time Thursday night
Oh yeah.
watching football. Stayed up a little too late.
Yes. I don't know. Had a few not too many beers, but we had a few beers.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
who's to
Had enough
judge
to
that?
slow you down in the morning a
Yeah,
little bit.
and
This
didn't
is
get-
the other trigger strategy, by the way.
Yeah. Slow yourself down by.
For all y'all, listen close. So
Drink heavily, so you are really hurting the next day.
yeah, I wasn't really hurting, but I couldn't get up, and my alarm was going off for like a half hour, and finally I shut it off at 6:30. I'm just like, screw it, I'm not going. Then I'm just laying there, half awake, and I'm like, it's gonna rain Friday night. It's gonna rain Saturday. Halloween's Sunday night. I gotta go, and I'm like, I'm too late. I shouldn't go, and then it's like, screw it. Just, what's the big deal if I get in the stand? Whenever I get in the stand, So
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
so that's what I figured, and I was driving to Pavilion because I didn't know where else to go. So it's a half-hour drive. I got up at 6:40. I left at 6:50. I got to her parents' house at 7:23.
It's light.
It's light.
Gray
you can
light.
you can shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to get dressed, and luckily I only had like a 5-minute walk down it's an old driveway. So it was pretty like low impact get in, and there's probably 40 acres of standing corn around there. And
On that
I'm s-
property, it probably doesn't hurt to not get there in the dark when all the deer are out near you anyways.
yeah, I've gotten in the dark and not scared any. I've gotten in the dark and scared them because they technically should be coming off those fields in the morning.
Right.
So it's kind of a messed up morning spot that we never hunted, but I've been having a little luck there the last couple of years. So yeah, it was only like a 5-minute walk. I got in my tree, climbed up. It takes 5 minutes to get all your shit situated, and as soon as I did that, I bleated half a dozen times, and then I did like a 8 or 10 like grunt like sequence, just kind of different grunts, and
Like-
I
Tending grunts or
I was doing
Like short-
"Rrrr," and then some short like like when they're chasing or something
Yeah.
like that, and then just put the grunt call away, and it was about a minute later I look, and he's at like 35 yards coming right in. And at first he looked like it's really thick in there, and all I saw was I must have saw the front 2 tines on the right side, which was a little shorter, and I thought maybe it wasn't even a shooter, and I just grabbed the bow just in case, and turned out, I mean, I've been having pictures of this 9-point that was the buck I really wanted out there, and
yeah.
he kind of like, just as he was coming into an opening, I was going to range him, and I said, nah, he's less than 25, I'm good, and like as I was saying that, like he turned and I seen how wide he was, and I was pretty sure it was him. Basically I drew, I didn't even grunt, he stopped right in that opening and pulled the trigger, and he just big old whack, and he hit the ground like I shot him with a 300. And I knew it was it looked low to me, but he got his back end back up and just bulldozed through. It's a bunch of like small ash, it's kind of like swampy,
Mm-hmm.
and he just like he never got his front end back up. His head was down, his front end was down. The arrow was, in him. I got a lighted knock, and he just bulldozed for like 50 yards where I could see him through that thick stuff, and I seen him break out of the thick stuff, and his tail went down, and he just stopped. I didn't know what he did, So I didn't know what to do. It looked like I hit him in the heart again, and it looked like I was very low, like barely caught the heart. So I didn't even get down. It's so thick in there. I didn't think he went very far. I didn't want to even look at my arrow or look for my arrow stayed in him for a while. So I ended up just going home. And, I was a little worried. Pretty confident how hard he went down and that he didn't get back up that I knew of, But I gave him 4 hours, me, Molly, and Kenzie went back, and we ended up driving. There's a driveway right there. It's the town dump driveway, and we drove down with the side-by-side just to be nonchalant.
Yeah, like normal. Yeah.
Just in case there was something shady going on, like where he wasn't dead. I had no idea. I didn't know what to think, and
if you see him alive, you just keep driving.
I was just going to keep driving.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if he's in, and they're driving around there with a side-by-side all the time, so the deer are used to it, yeah.
So I thought he stopped somewhere right by that driveway. So I said, we're just going to, I got a 3-year-old with me and Molly, and I really wasn't looking for a rodeo, and I didn't want to push the thing.
Right.
It was going to rain in a couple hours. I didn't want to.
So you had Kenzie with you? Because Maya's at school.
Yeah, it was Friday. She didn't have daycare.
That's terrific, yeah.
So.
Kenzie's, that's not her first recovery, is it?
No.
No?
No. So anyways, we drove down the driveway, and I wanted to see if, blood crossed it or whatever, and I'm telling Molly, it should be somewhere around here. Then all of a sudden I just see the huge blood spots going across the driveway, and I look, and he's just laying piled right up right there.
No kidding.
So.
Nice.
He went 60 yards.
Nice.
I didn't hit him where I thought. I hit him in front of the front shoulder, caught the front edge of both front shoulders. And, I just barely exited on the other side, and the arrow stayed right in. Where he was dead, that much of the arrow, and with the broadhead on it, was just laying there. I don't know how that came out at the end, which was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have to gut him with that in.
Yeah, you want to do that.
But it must have hit artery or something.
Yep.
I didn't touch the lungs. I was in front of the lungs, and I was above the heart.
Yep.
Same as me.
Yeah. But he died quick.
Yeah.
Where I saw him stop, that was it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about here with you two is, we've tracked a lot of deer together, the three of us, and there's one thing that you guys, and it's a little bit different because we're hunting right here, like at home, 5 minutes from where we hunt most of the time.
Yeah,
granted
home.
Out there,
yeah.
You go home. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people make the mistake of is you want to pursue that track almost immediately.
Yeah.
That's your instinct, is that you want to get out of the tree and go straight to it. But, in your situation, Dallas, you got down, you had seen the deer leave eyesight, and you just wanted to go check the endpoint spot so you could see whether there was sign of a good hit or blood or anything. But then on top of that, you saw what you saw and you got the heck out of there, gave it time. I think that's the common mistake that people make, is that they just push too hard. And both of your shots did not hit. They didn't hit vital organs. You probably cut the windpipe or hit a main artery. And
yeah, well, it must have hit the jugular because, it was just a 2-foot blood trail. He bled out in 60 yards.
Yeah, for sure. That's what that was.
But yeah, you don't know. And I would have never guessed. I have a lighted knock. I watched the arrow from my bow to him. I never saw the arrow move. As far as I know, I hit low right behind the leg.
That's so wild. Yeah. Yeah, your arrows are doing some wild stuff in the air or something. I don't know.
Well, and I looked back through that one, and there's a bunch of them little limbs. I don't know how he would have got through there without hitting anything.
Yeah. It could have just slapped the tail or, because your arrow is flexing a little bit as it's going.
Right.
So all it takes is just a little bit of something to nick. But
yeah, either that or I'm just a horrible shot. I don't know.
It could be a combination of all of it. But, any kind of on that, any tips for people tracking? I think I'm seeing it a lot, and I've got, friends that are, hitting deer and they're struggling to find them. And it's tough, when you're dealing with, private property and boundary lines and can't go here and can't go there. I get all that. And those are definitely challenges. But, when it comes to when you make a shot, especially with a bow, we kind of just hit on it, but you guys have any tips for anybody when they first make that shot? Like, how do you handle that situation to make sure you have the best chance of recovering that deer?
Well, I mean, the safe thing to do is wait. But one thing I know is that the first bed is the best one. So if you get them out of that first bed, your chances go down dramatically.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and the best way to get them out of that bed is to go after them too soon. So, I mean, especially if it's one thing if you make a pretty good shot and they get them out of the first bed and they move 100 yards and lay down again, but if you gut shoot them especially, or just, one lungs or back, 'cause one lung is a classic one where it's hard to tell that you're doing that even.
It looks like a good shot.
It looks like a good shot. You got some lung blood, but they can live a long time on that one lung. So if you get them out of that bed, then there's a good chance they clot up and stop bleeding. So it's hard to do to just go away like that. But I know I just watched Nick's video here from last week, and he did the same thing. He knew he had a liver shot, and he just went home and came back in the morning, and that's hard to do.
And that was a rainy night too.
Yeah.
And he was thinking about going back in that night, and I'm glad he didn't, because I think he said that deer was stiff as a board when he found him, but
you don't know
there's
if
no
that's
telling.
in 3 hours or 12 hours. It's no telling how, because I know if you center punch the liver, they'll die pretty fast. But if you just cut a small piece of it, I've heard of them living 12, 18 hours on a liver shot.
Yeah.
Or living.
The liver shot is always going to kill them, but
I don't know. If you don't hit that very well, I mean, it can heal right up.
you're probably going to get some guts though.
That's right.
If you hit the liver, you're probably going to get some guts. Yeah.
You hit intestine or stomach, and they're not going to live through that either. But that could be a 2 or 3 day ordeal.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be bad. So.
Yeah,
there's
push
nothing
it.
worse than going back in the morning and finding that the coyotes already got to him. But actually, there is one thing that's worse, and that's never finding the deer.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you kicked him out of his bed and he ran off and he didn't bleed, and I mean, that's the worst thing. So
We've had outstanding luck with going back at midnight or 1 o'clock. Give them 6-7 hours.
Yep.
You shoot them at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Give them all that time.
yeah, unless you know it was a gut shot.
Yeah.
Like I had that one that you helped me with a few years ago. You and
That
Dad
buck.
and Brian, that non-typical buck where I knew I had gut shot him because he was quartered towards me and he took off, and I jumped the trigger and I hit him kind of in the back, and I knew it went down through his stomach. So we still went after him after 8 hours. We found him alive.
That was like midnight, 1 o'clock.
2 in the morning, we found him
Was it that
alive on
late?
a 5 o'clock shot. So 9 hours. But he was kind of dozing off, so we got out of there.
Yeah,
and
he
went
was.
back in the
We had him in
morning
the
and-
spotlight in the eyes, and like that's something I think you have to be cognizant when you're going on a blood trail like that. I mean, like the four of us worked really well together, like especially on that blood trail. Like nobody was like getting ahead of each other. We were staying quiet. We were like, because you just don't know what you're getting into or what you're stepping over, and don't give, like a lot of times don't give up. Like that blood trail on that buck, it was an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we went for a while without finding any blood, and we were about ready to pack it in, and we just started walking different deer travel points, and I found that blood on the edge of that bean field, just dripping, walking, and then we just started following
It ended
that.
up being an easy track to follow. After
It was
that.
super easy.
It wasn't a lot of blood, but it was enough.
But there was
blood.
nothing that led us from the last point of blood to that point.
He went through all that goldenrod.
And it was like a really cold night. It was frost, and there was a lot of other deer in there. So it definitely mixes it up. But I think that's a great method, like you talked about how you lost your track, is, start kind of pull back to where you were and then start checking trails.
Yeah.
You need buddies.
Yeah.
You need buddies that want to actually find some blood.
And buddies want to help, so it's like when your friends don't call you and they don't get a deer, it's a bummer because, there's something that you can do.
Well, I think
help,
too, the helpers have always got they've always got their head on more straight than the shooter did. I feel like
That's a great point. Yeah.
I think that because I know that it's nice as the shooter, you can say what happened and what you thought happened, but it's better to have somebody to bounce your ideas off of, and somebody with kind of a
look at the track, look at the blood, look at the arrow, and
you were pointing out a lot of things that I wasn't picking up on, and I know I've helped you find some of your deer where I know I was right in on and found the deer,
because you think you know what you saw when you shoot.
But the guy that wasn't there can say, "Well, here's what I'm looking at based
did
on the
that
blood
really
and the track."
happen?
Yeah. I'm looking at the evidence as opposed to the shot that I saw in my mind. So
here's the thing: if they're dead, they're dead. if they died in 10 minutes, they're
Yeah.
not going to come back to life.
Not going to be any less dead when you find
They're
them.
not going to be any less dead. Now, if it's 80 degrees out,
Right.
You know, the coyotes are yipping when you leave the woods. I mean, it's a tough thing to leave them, but unless you are 100% sure that you double lunged them or hard shot
Or
them,
you saw it go down.
yeah, you
Yeah.
saw it go down. I've seen them go down and haven't even found them.
Yeah.
Or not right there, you know. You hit one lung. I've seen them bed down after 100 yards. I go home, get all my crap, go back, and guess what? They're not
They're
there.
not there. Yeah.
But did a coyote, you know,
Bump them. I think that's what happens a lot. Yeah. I think that
I've
it
seen
could be
that.
predators that get after them, and it may have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I mean, you shoot them in the liver, and a coyote finds them in an hour, and they've been bedded there the whole time. And the coyote jumps them. I mean, where did they go?
Right.
A lot of times they don't bleed when they get up, you know, if they've been laying there a while.
Well, congrats, boys. I mean, anything to say about the you and just quick on the Colorado hunt? I mean, your buck, that one there was probably felt pretty good when you shot that, because that was a hard hunt. Like, we hunted hard.
Yeah.
And we haven't had to go that long into a trip to kill something. So
No, I mean, the hunt we were seeing some game,
yeah.
but I mean, I didn't see a deer from Saturday morning, which was opening morning. I saw 3 bucks opening morning. Thought, man, it's going to be an awesome hunt, just like
Every
we're
other time,
expecting, you know.
yep.
And then I didn't see a deer till Thursday morning. I bumped one in the morning in the dark and one at night in the dark.
Yep.
One was definitely a buck in the morning, but I don't count that. You know, I was walking.
Yeah.
So it was forky time. It was
Forky and knife.
It was going down. So yeah, I mean, I didn't see a deer till Thursday morning. I got up a little late that morning too.
Maybe there's something to that, Dallas.
I tell you,
Well,
the
that's
early
what I
bird
tell
gets
you.
the
That's
worm.
the other trigger strategy right there.
The early bird gets the bad boy worm, and the guy that sits in bed and gets up a little
Shoots a
later.
buck.
Yeah. Let everybody else get out there and move things around, and then you can.
Yep. So I got up a little late, and the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be late. Should I even go? Yeah, gotta go. And I hunted a different spot right near camp. I just went up a few hundred feet, and like getting ready, I see a doe at 200 yards, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, you know, this is awesome. And really, I wasn't that late, because by the time I got to my spot, 200 yards away, there was a doe, but I had to use my binoculars
it's too dark,
to even
yeah.
tell, you know.
Yeah.
Then another one came out, it was another doe, and then the third one stood there for a while, and I looked at it for a couple minutes before I even realized it was a little forkhorn, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I pulled my gun up, and you couldn't see, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything. And just watching them, they're working their way right back down towards camp, and all of a sudden another buck comes out, and it's a mega 1.5-year forky. I mean, he was like 12 inches tall.
Oh yeah.
He was awesome,
yeah.
and I'm like, giggity, giggity. All right. So I grabbed my shit, rolled over the hill to get on the opposite side of the hill of him, and just ran down towards camp, you know, trying to keep that hill between us. And got down there, sat right on the trail, got all my crap, got my pack on a log, and I'm laying there, and I am going to smoke one of them forkhorns. I picked the valley. I thought they were coming down, you know, and I waited 5 minutes, and I started second-guessing myself. I'm like, nah, they're not going to come. They're not going to come. And just heard running down the hill right where I just walked through. You know, how the muleys just
just boom,
on
boom,
all four
boom.
at the same time. Yeah, you could just hear them. And I just spun around on my ass with the gun up, and big doe, little buck, and then saw some good horn, and they, like, threw some dirt, locking the brakes at, like, 60 yards. He was just facing me and just let one rip.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think I hit him. The other deer took off. He stood there like he was fine. Then he trotted like 10 yards up the hill and started getting wobbly-legged. And
he died right where we were getting water, right?
oh, yeah. Well, I shot him right where we walked through to get water.
Yeah.
And I was sitting I was like 2 steps off the trail.
It's terrific, yeah.
But, yeah, the one deer at least ran just about through camp, and then he actually went closer to camp to die.
It's unbelievable.
So, yeah, I mean, it's easy when it happens.
It is easy when it happens.
So
It was nice to get redemption up in there
Yeah.
and bring a deer out this year after misses in 2019. So yeah.
I'm just glad I didn't miss him. It was a really quick shot.
Yeah,
And
probably better that way.
It was just a blur. My sights just kind of blurred together, and it went off. And when I swung around, I just kind of pulled the hammer and basically dropped it on him.
Yep, it's probably better that way.
So, whew.
Let the smoke out.
Yep.
So yeah, that felt pretty good to actually come out of there with something.
Yeah. Now, so you've got you got 2 nice bucks so far this year. So, we're gonna have to get you to the 4 number. We're gonna get you another big one in PA.
Yep, I'm there.
Or should we make him do all the pushing? I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, get out of my way.
We've got I don't know
because
who
it
we've
ain't gonna
got.
stop.
If Jim Bob's still on here, if Mr. Honey Brown, who is probably on number 12 at this point,
Call in if you're
would
there.
like to call in
What
if you
is
know
the
how to do
number?
it. He said he was on number 6 an hour ago,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm guessing he's pretty close. You got to drain the main vein. You could use the sump pump if you want. It's in the back corner over here. That's my urinal. Yeah. Oh, Jim's there. He knows how to do it. Hey, Jim.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Lisa did
How you
it. For me.
doing?
Hey, buddy.
hey.
What's happening?
Good to hear your voice. That can only mean one thing on a Wednesday night.
That's
In
right.
Pertnear land.
We're honey browning it.
Yeah.
Congrats, buddy. Nice buck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was 2 days. Was it Monday?
Yeah, Monday evening.
Monday evening.
Yep.
Let us hear it.
Well, went out there, got in the stand. Now, this was a particular property it's close to where I own, and we've had permission on it for the last 4 years. And we haven't taken anything off from it yet, but we've seen a lot of nice deer, had a few encounters along the way, but we really haven't touched it in the past 4 years because we're always kind of tending to our own property. But we've had a lot of trail cam pictures over the past 4 years, but just can't really get on these deer. They're there in the summertime, a lot of good feed in the area, but then, they've already harvested corn, not any oaks really like we have where we're at. So like they cut the corn the first day of bow season, and it's pretty open, but there is some swampy type of areas. So we kind of left it alone, been there a few times this past through October,
Hi, Jim.
and everything kind of dried up.
Brian says hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Brian says hi.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Jim.
Your ice cubes are still nice and full. It sounds by the sounds of it.
Go Yeti.
So we've checked the cameras, just kind of get in this area, go in there. It's about 50 acres. We go in there maybe once every 7 to 10 days, and there's been nothing on there. But I got to give most of the props to my brother because he went there Monday morning, hunted the spot, had a smaller buck come in, checked the camera, and ooh, here's this buck that we seen him probably early September and never got another sighting of him. So he hunted that in the morning. The wind picked up terribly in the afternoon. It's kind of like mainly a lot of fields.
Yeah,
So
Monday the wind was brutal. I was outside most of the day.
It was like 30-mile-an-hour wind. So he goes, well, I'm going to get back into a different spot. And he picks up another stand and stuff we have back to near where we are, where we had a lot of corn. They haven't cut any of the corn where we are yet. So he hunted there, and I says, well, why don't I just slide into this stand? We put the stand up in July. We kind of figured it out last year during gun where some of the deer were coming through. So I got in there about 3:30. I honestly told myself, I go, I have zero expectations for tonight and how it is, but did have a northwest wind, which just switched in the last couple of days. We've had east winds and south winds, and it's just terrible blowing back into this bedding area that we have. So I sat up there and actually we're talking with Brian on, was it Friday night we talked, Brian?
Friday or Saturday, we
I think Friday, and he put over a couple of virtual shots. He put the thing in my head to start doing some railing. I don't do a lot of railing, I'll be honest. I've had not success in the past. I've had deer spook, mediocre bucks, 2.5-year-old bucks. They just don't like it.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what the hell? Like we had I'm an October hunter, especially with bow. I have every Friday off. I've hunted the whole usually I've had great success the first weekend, then it always usually drops off. After that, I don't know if it's the lull or what, but I had a nice buck that I missed the second day this year, and I don't know, it was just a bad shot on my part to try to. I thought I had an opening, but with the cover, I hit a limb and sailed it over his back. But I'll take a miss any day.
Yeah. So
everything kind of dropped off after that, and we were out. And we're like, "What are we doing?" I'm like, "Why are we spending so many days out here?" We talk about every year. Why do I hunt so hard? But you got to be out there. So I get the time and I go out. So then all this kind of plays out, to where you end up in November.
Yeah.
But so anyway, this deer, I was rattling in between when the wind would die off. I was rattling, grunting, and just when it died down a little bit where you could actually hear. And I'm like, well, what do we got to lose? All of a sudden I look it was like 5 minutes after 6. I look straight across. Here he's standing there facing me, ears back, like, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
And he's in an open field. It's kind of like a cross shape. So it's got a swamp on each side of it. It's a nice big clover field, and I'm sitting on the edge of this. The wind is perfect, and all of a sudden he looks. I grunt twice, and he comes across like, "Where are you? We're gonna fight."
Yeah, right across the field.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. He comes, and he's coming straight at the tree. He turns, but he's giving me like a quartering 2-shot. I'm like, I'm not taking that. So he then totally turns broadside. He's 5 yards, but keeps on walking by me.
Are you at full draw at this point?
I'm at full draw. I've been at full draw for seemed like forever. But he goes right in the spot, and it's thick. Like one spot we didn't clean out. Like I said, we cleaned this spot out in July, and it's in the field, but never thinking how they're gonna. I don't want to take out too much cover.
Yeah.
I get one opening. It's about 6 inches that I can feed the arrow through, but I wouldn't have taken it if he was still moving. So he takes 3 more steps, and he stops right in that opening, and his side's broadside. So 5 yards, double lung. Watched, he turned, went left, 50 yards in the field. I'm going, oh my God, he's going down right from me. No tracking needed.
Yeah, nice.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I was very happy. It's one of the nicer. Well, he's a lot like the one I got in probably 05, but lot pretty thick. I think the taxidermist said he's close to 4.5, but
nice.
Not sure. At least 3.5, 4.5. But shooter all day in my book.
Hell
Good
yeah,
job, Jim.
And I rattling, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real? Were you guys using real horns?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Rattle bags.
Jim was using real horns though.
To add to that, before that, so I rattled almost 5 or 6 different bucks in this past week. They were smaller bucks, but like I think it was Sunday night, I had 8 bucks in a different area, and I didn't bring the rattle, the horns, and they come running into my grunt, but they're like 75, 80 yards, and they were looking around. But I'm thinking if I had the racks, I'm like, maybe they would have came in that distance. I had 2 nice shooters, but who knows now? But definitely works. Like I said, in our area, we never really thought to do a lot of that because just you get how they spook and they're looking for something else. Actually, I know a lot of people saying decoys are working too right now. So I mean,
it just seems like you got to catch them in the right and just in that right mindset,
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it on the wrong mindset and spook the whole area out. I mean, it's
right. Exactly.
I'm generally hesitant to rattle, but it worked.
And it also helps to be like, I don't know. For me, I don't want to go to the farm and start smashing on horns because we're trying to hunt there for 7-8 weeks.
Yeah,
but if I'm going to public land, I'm going at it tonight. And I think that's
Right.
half the reason why, I find so much success so quickly there, because I'm like, well, what the hell do I have to lose? If I
Just put it
burn it,
all-
I'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah, just go all in.
But that's awesome, Jim. I can't wait to.
Thank you.
You're coming to Pennsylvania, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, Jim.
Hey,
I'm-
Can't
Jim.
wait for you to be the first one on the scene.
I know. Oh,
You take such good pictures,
I do. I'm good at something. I'm not good at much, but
and you're good at pushing.
I am good at
Yeah,
pushing.
you're pushing.
I love pushing.
Hey, Jim, I'll take payment in the form of honey jack for that
Ooh.
advice. If you're,
All
if-
right.
yeah, I
Well,
don't know
tried
if
a
it's
little
worth
Jim-
anything. Or,
I tried a little Jim Beam honey tonight, and it's pretty good.
yeah,
I can't complain.
I went with the cheap stuff, Evan Williams.
Evan Williams. Yeah,
It's
it's all
just
the
as
same.
good. Just as good.
Yeah.
Very delicious.
Yeah, I've been celebrating quite a bit the last 2 days. I've actually got 2 weeks off. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Oh, you should get your butt down to Pennsylvania for a few days then.
Well, yeah.
You got-
uh,
permanent
water
pusher.
down there.
There's nothing better than a permanent pusher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should fill your tag now so
Yes,
that you got to
now.
walk around with no gun for
Oh, like
3
last year.
days. Yeah.
That was
And the year
brutal.
before.
I think I put on 13 miles or 14 miles there. I can't remember last year, but it was all worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, looking forward to that trip. We got a that's a whole separate discussion. We really should do a game plan and podcast on that sometime later within the next couple of weeks, just to get together, and whether we do put the headsets on or we just get together and talk, where we need to start planning that, because we got quite the crew going this year. So
Yeah, you're expecting a lot of guys, right?
I mean, minimum 15, but probably more.
yeah, I'm guessing between 15 and 20. I know for the houses we've got 15 already committed, and I know that there's probably going to be a few more people. So I'm excited. Got a couple of my buddies from at least one of my buddies for sure from Pennsylvania, Jim DiAgostino. Jim. He's already committed, so he already paid me, and he took the time off, so he's going to join us there. So I'm excited about that, for him to meet the whole crew, and we'll see who else shows up. Should be. I know that.
We're going to be dragging them out.
Oh,
I'm not dragging.
no, we're packing.
We're packing them
Yeah.
out.
Sharpen your knife, Jim. Sharpen your knife.
Oh, I'm packing.
Did you get a pair of trekking poles yet, Jim?
Yes, I had some last year.
Oh, you did. Those were yours. Okay.
Thank my girlfriend for getting those because they really saved me
Yes.
Well,
big
yeah.
time.
With no
They were
gun,
awesome.
trekking poles are the way to go.
It is amazing the difference. Not carrying a rifle and then having those.
Oh,
Four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
All right. So I'm on the phone here with. I have two people in my presence and one on the phone. You guys all have filled your buck tags. What's your thoughts on what's happening right now, and what to be looking for heading into the weekend as far as deer movement? I mean, we've got a lot of cell cams, so we're getting tons of intel every day. I don't know, Jim, you just shot your buck Monday, but this seemed like, were those bucks just out cruising? I mean, you haven't seen any bucks on a doe yet, have you? Or
Just bumping, little
Pushing them
bit of
around.
chasing.
Yeah.
But so this buck was on Monday, or actually we got him Sunday night at 11:30 on camera, and he didn't go 150 yards from that time. Well, I mean, I don't know where he wandered. He may have been out in the field, or whatever. But where I shot him, he was 100 and maybe 150 yards from the camera. So I don't know how much they're traveling really right now. And he was not run down. Doesn't look like he's been fighting. They're just really. I mean, to me, he looked like a real.
Yeah.
Plumped up October buck. They're ready. I mean, I think it's starting right now, yes, but as far as the heavy chasing and the wandering, we haven't seen that yet. And we've been out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But
we're
every
not.
area is different too.
And I mean, just from our property in Naples with those cell cams up there, we had a flurry of activity around the 26th, 27th of a bunch of daylight. Friday Thursday we had deer on camera daylight, like an hour and a half, 2 hours before dark.
Right.
But then it's been nighttime activity, and we're not, those big bucks that we were seeing within the last 7 days, we're not seeing the last few days. They're not hitting the food sources. They're not coming to where the does are hanging. And
Right.
then
So what's that mean? Are they locked down? I don't think they're locked down.
there might be
Or are they
first couple does might be in.
a mile
Mm-hmm.
away?
Could be, but if there's does there, you would think, why would they? So something I saw yesterday when I went and did that quick sit in the afternoon at the farm.
So where'd you go?
I went down by the creek.
So there was a stand.
So I don't know if Robert just put that stand up or did he right on the new trail?
Yeah.
So that was actually where I was planning to go and set my saddle up, and I'm like in there and I'm like, oh, there's a tree stand right here. So I end up it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah.
So I'm almost there. So you know where the trail Y's, where he made the new trail and the old trail kind of goes off in dead ends. I make the Y there, and I'm moving, but the wind's at my back. I'm like, I just need to get in there and just get where I'm going. And all of a sudden something jumps. I make that left and something jumps up like from here to the wall away. And at first it just looked like a big fluffy tail. I thought it was a squirrel going up a tree. And it was a small yipper. And it bounded like maybe 10 bounds and then it never snorted, never nothing. Stood there, let me walk right by. And it must have laid right back down in that clump of stuff there. Because when I came back, I set the cell cam up, and the damn thing was 4 minutes behind me, came walking right behind me after I left with the cell cam. So that deer, I have had it on camera like 2 or 3 more times since. So it's a yipper by itself, like not knowing it did not spook, it didn't run away from me. So that tells me that doe is not with that fawn. Right. She's off somewhere else. And we had a little bit of a flurry of activity in the back on the cameras.
Right, they've been kind of running by.
Yeah. But
we had 2 good bucks this morning.
Yeah.
The one, they were both blurry, but I think the one was the tall 3-year-old there.
Yep. You think so?
Yeah.
With the splits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Because we really haven't gotten a good picture of him in a little while.
Middle of the night, but I'm pretty sure that was him.
Yeah.
And what do you think it was the night before? It was blurry.
It was the same morning we had another good buck. It was probably one of those other 3-year-olds. But the thing you said about the fawn is I was thinking the same thing because Monday
when they separate.
Me and Dad went to hang some stands on Monday at the other property, and we were on a Ranger and we drove right up to these 2 deer, and we pretty much had to move them out of the way to get down the roadway. So they were probably just recently separated and not.
They don't know
it's
what
their
to do.
first day on their own kind of thing. So they're just like, well, if I stand here long enough, Mom will come back here eventually. So I'm thinking that's what's going on there too. So you're starting to see that.
Yeah.
The does are getting ready.
I think if you so it's good for me to talk through this because I'm off Friday. I think really I need to go and find where the does are currently hanging and just get there because I think you're going to have a couple of those first does are going to start coming in and you're going to get bucks that are just circling the area.
By Friday, it's going to be.
Yeah, it should be money, hopefully.
I wish I was hunting.
Today I was out and you're both out.
I'm good.
No, you don't.
No, I'm going to try and get my wife to go hunting.
Yeah, there you go. Today I saw a huge buck. I've been driving 250, 300 miles a day through some beautiful ag land. You'd think I would be seeing shit running, and today was the first buck I seen.
You keep binoculars right on your seat.
When you drive around, for sure. Yeah, that's why I can only make two customer visits a day because it takes me so long to get through the country. But I saw a huge buck today, right outside of Seneca Falls. That was south of Seneca Falls between the 2 lakes. It's all ag land, just gorgeous. But it was kind of getting closer to town, and this buck is just right in the middle of a yard, and he is big. Like it's one of those. He's a big buck. He was wide. He wasn't super tall, but his beams were big, and he's just walking. It's 11:50, and he's just walking out in the middle of this yard, and he's walking straight into the west wind, and then he hit the hedgerow and just started trotting. And I was sitting there watching him on the phone, talking with somebody, and I was talking with Jimmy today too, and we've been seeing a lot of movement on his cameras. We've been seeing a lot of movement around between like 11 and 1. There's been a decent amount of buck movement. So I don't know. I think that's another approach too, is if you can get out there and hunt for a few hours in the middle of the day, even if you can't hunt a whole day or a whole morning or night, just get out there for a few hours. You never know what's going to happen. So
I just always figure like being close to light or dark, you're going to spook a lot getting in, but this time of year, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
If you can get out and get hunting, just hunt.
Just go. Yeah. Don't overthink it. I need to listen to what I say there because, but I think, as much as I say that, it's good to call and talk to your friends because sometimes you do overthink yourself. And I can have, like my buddy Eric called me the other day and I'm like, stop overthinking it. I'm like, just do this. But then at the same time, I'm overthinking it. So I need to call one of you guys and have you tell me that,
So I think the biggest thing is if you could hunt. If you can't, you can't hunt. So I mean, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? If you get like you went out for a couple hours,
Can't kill them from the couch.
Nope.
It might be useless to go out from 2:30 to 4:30. But what else are you gonna do?
Right.
If you can hunt, hunt. If you can't, don't worry about it because there's no chance you can get out.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. But Monday afternoon I had an hour and a half, and I ran up the hill that I'm going to hunt on the public piece. I ran up it on and went up the hill. I didn't run literally, but I just did a real quick speed scout. I had my bow in case God knows I run into something, but I just powered up the hill, hit the areas that I anticipate there being deer sign. I hadn't been in there yet this season. Found a ton of rubs that was like very obvious that this is where bucks are hanging. And then I did my loop, and I didn't find what was interesting. The scrapes were not being touched in days. There was no fresh tracks or nothing. That was probably the biggest thing. And then the food sources. I was kind of looking for food too. There's no acorns this year because of the gypsy moths.
Yep.
So that's a huge game changer there because that was the main food source. So, that's the big thing is, just get out there. I think that's what you just have to do. You got to, if you're living the lives like we are at this point where you've got young kids, you don't have a lot of time, and don't burn your home life because you think you got to be in the woods from sunup to sundown on Saturday and Sunday. No. It ain't worth it. It's just not.
No.
Because all it takes is 20 minutes. All it takes is being in there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't ruin your freaking life for the rest of the year just over this.
And even
it's a long season.
Not all wives are created equal either, and
it doesn't matter how good they are.
Some put up with more or less. Right. And my wife hunts, and she gets burnout.
Young kids are they're exhausting. It is exhausting. So you gotta, you sacrificed a lot in 11 years, until your girl started getting older.
Yeah, you're breaking through it.
Yeah. And you're coming out the other side, and it's a scary thing because there's shit tipping over, and you're planting like 70 different blends of food.
Did you plant 70 or 80 times this year?
Well,
between spraying and planting, you were probably there 130 times.
And I haven't hunted it not 1 minute this year.
No. Yeah. Late season, Jim. Late season.
Oh, it's gonna pay off, brother. We're gonna crush them.
I'm gonna smoke them out later this year.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be with you?
Oh yeah.
Me too.
As long as you guys can hunt Tuesday afternoons at 3:00.
I can adjust my schedule. Yeah.
I'm out.
So, all right. Anything in closing from you, Jim? We're closing in on 10 o'clock here, and I told the wife I'd shut her down by then. So, you got anything in closing for us, sir?
Nothing in closing. Just like the rest of the fellas said, got to be out there right now. The next 2 weeks are huge, and that's. A lot of midday as well. We've seen that in years past. So, like you said, you can't get up. I've seen 2 bucks in the morning this whole year so far. So, everything I've seen has been in the evening. So, I don't know what that adds. It hasn't been like that in years past. It always used to have a lot of good sightings in the morning, but mornings have been totally dead.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's our area and like you said, we have no acorns at all this year, and that's 90% of where we hunt. So
well, that could be a big reason why the morning movement isn't there, because they're not
right.
moving to go to acorns to eat and then come back to bed. They're just probably eating whatever they can browse wise and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So Paul's going to be out all week too?
No, he's off I think Friday and Monday.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, hopefully he runs into something this weekend then too.
Yeah, he's eager to get out there and eager to get one like the rest of the hunting population is. So.
Except for you 3. All right. We'll wrap her up on that. Thank you, Kirsch Boys and Mr. Vogel, for getting on here. And I don't know, I texted some random dude by the name of Jim Fogel, and apparently
he never responded.
That's not you. No, he never responded. So
I got your old number, Billy. So you gotta.
All right, I'll get it from Dallas when we hang up.
All right.
So, all right, buddy.
Thank you, boys.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Stay well, and good luck to everybody this weekend heading out there. It should be a good one. The weather looks great, and don't forget to have a little fun while you're out there. And next thing you know, old Bullwinkle will walk by.
That's right. Doesn't take anything.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and keep fading them.
Bowhunter die.
Wrong brand, Jim.